Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Flawless 195. This is flight 79 of 210. This is the Gambia to Guinea-Bissau. In cities is Banjul to Bissau, all the B's. Departure time, local time, will be 11:45 a.m. And the flight time, yet again, like I said, a lot of short flights coming in. And it is, similar to yesterday, a 20-minute flight all in. So we'll soon be up and down, like I say, probably get to 19,000 feet, cruise at that for 5 or 10 minutes, and in we go. Got another little documentary lined up as well, which should get us across. But yeah, we're heading southeast on this one. But yeah, little up and down again, like I say, a lot of countries sandwiched in next to each other along this western coast of Africa. So like I say, expect the next half dozen flights or so to be like this, just hopping across the borders. And yeah, welcome to flight 79. What else to say? I'll prepare the plane for departure now. If you have any questions regarding the Flawless 195 World Tour, then please do get a comment in the section below. If you haven't seen it already and you're a new viewer, get yourself onto the route explainer video. That will go through where I am, but we are a good well over a third of the way into this World Tour now, into the African leg. But this African leg is going to be going on till about Christmas because there's another 30 or 40 countries just in Africa alone. So it's going to be another couple of months at least dipping round Africa. But yeah, that's all about it. I'll get on the safety demonstration now, then a little documentary to get us over there. But yeah, that is about all. I'll get the plane up and running now. And again, with the taxiway, it is simply a case of going up the runway. I could either got two options here. I could go down that way, which is going to take a lot less time. Full beans out in that direction as soon as you get in the air, pull a 180, or saunter down to the far end of the runway, which is what I should do, which is what I probably will do. Just saunter our way down to the far end of the runway, and then when we take off coming back this way, it will then be a sort of, we're already on the flight path, so there won't be any extreme 180 turns going on, which would probably make it a little bit easier, especially when, as well, I don't want to be messing about too long before getting over to autopilot because the flight's so short. I want to be looking at the maps and the radar pretty quickly, so I probably will do that. I'll saunter to the end of the runway. The taxi out's going to be as long as the flight, in other words. So yeah, we'll get the plane set up now. We'll get out of here. But yeah, welcome to flight 79 of 210, Banjul to Bissau, capital of Guinea-Bissau. Let's do this. And hopefully all going to be safe. Where's he going in that yellow taxi? Not happy about him heading onto the runway. But as we've seen with other vehicles on runway, which is not something I thought I'd be saying in this world tour, but as we've seen with vehicles on runway, it doesn't affect the plane. In other words, think of the vehicles as holograms. I think if I hit a building, or obviously if I land on the ground too hard or whatever, then obviously it's going to end the world tour. But I think the vehicles, you can kind of just go through them. So him going up the runway there, don't worry about him. You know, we will simply hologram through him, if you like. So he won't end the world tour by clipping him with the wheels at 170 knots. But anyway, let's get out of here and let's get this little hop across the border underway. I'll speak to you probably upon the descent and what my plan is for the route in, because again, we're not going for the ILS. There was ILS available, which there hasn't been for the last half dozen flights or so. There was ILS optional, but it was adding another 20 minutes onto the flight by taking us round the houses. And I thought, do you know what? I can find my own way in. I think I have to dip slightly more as the flight comes in, because we're coming in southeast, I then have to go more east to then come in south. If you, well, you'll see when we get there. We'll play it by ear. But yeah, up to probably 19,000 feet, cruise for 5 or 10 minutes, and back down we go. But yeah, speak to you later on when we get into the final descent and when I take manual control of the plane. All right, thank you. Enough waffling. Let's do it.
Please pay attention to illuminated signs and crew instructions, including the following safety procedures. The safety card found in your seat pocket contains important information about exit routes, oxygen masks, life jackets, and the brace position that you must adopt if you hear brace, brace. There are 8 emergency exits on this aircraft. The cabin crew are now pointing out the exits nearest to you. Please be aware that your nearest usable exit may be behind you. Emergency lighting will guide you to an exit. In an emergency, leave all baggage on board. Your seatbelt is fastened, adjusted, and released as shown. It must be fastened when the seatbelt signs are on, and we recommend that you keep it fastened at all times. If the air supply fails, masks will drop from above you. Pull a mask towards you to start the oxygen. Put the mask over your nose and mouth and breathe normally. Hold the mask in place with the strap. Pull on each side to adjust. Put on your own mask before helping others. If we land on water, take a life jacket from under your seat. Remove from the pouch and put it over your head. Pass the tapes around your waist and click together. Pull the strap to adjust. Do not inflate it inside the aircraft. When outside, inflate it by pulling the toggle. If it fails to inflate or needs topping up, blow into this tube. There is a light and whistle for attracting attention. The cabin crew can assist you with life jackets for children. Your tray table must now be stowed, armrests down, window blinds open, and seatbelt fastened. Further information regarding your safety on board can be found in the in-flight magazine. We hope you have a great flight.
Always remember, a flash of an atomic bomb can come at any time. There is a bright flash, brighter than the sun, brighter than anything you've ever seen. And this is very, very important. Sometimes the bomb might explode without any warning, without any warning, without any warning, without any warning.
On these African plains some 60,000 years ago, our ancestors began migrating north. A trek that would ultimately give rise to modern-day civilization. And it's nothing short of a miracle that we've progressed as far as we have, especially in such a short amount of time. It's really not that difficult to see why intelligent life may be extremely sparse across the universe, given how absurdly fortunate we've been. So many things could have gone wrong along the way, and so many times it almost did. On the morning of the 12th of August 1883, Mexican astronomer Jose Bonilla was observing the sun when numerous UFOs began to sweep across the solar disk. The objects were surrounded by a coronal haze and left behind a trailing mist. The phenomenon continued for 2 consecutive days, and Bonilla counted 447 objects in total. As the event could not be explained, the UFOs were simply dismissed as birds, insects, or dust passing in front of the telescope. But based upon Bonilla's description of the event, coupled with an improved understanding of various astronomical phenomena, an article published in 2011 hypothesized that the objects were fragments of a comet nearly colliding with the Earth. The only bodies in the solar system that leave trails and are surrounded by a bright haze are comets, and much like this comet observed in 2006, we now know that fragmentation is a frequent occurrence. It is estimated that the comet broke into more than 3,200 fragments ranging in size between 50 and 1,000 meters in diameter and sailed past the Earth at a distance of no more than a few thousand kilometers. Had only one of these fragments struck the planet, it could have resulted in millions of casualties. Had all, or at least a significant portion of the fragments, impacted the Earth, we're looking at an extinction-level event. It's the middle of the Siberian taiga, around 7 a.m., when a powerful explosion would lit up the sky. An eyewitness 65 kilometers away from the blast accounts that the sky split in two and fire appeared high and wide over the forest. At that moment I became so hot that I couldn't bear it, as if my shirt was on fire. I wanted to tear off my shirt and throw it down, but then the sky shut closed. A strong thump sounded and I was thrown a few meters. 2 decades later, in 1927, the first expedition to the blast site would capture this footage. Some 2,000 square kilometers of forest, some 80 million trees in total, had been completely flattened by the event. The broad consensus is that an asteroid or comet less than 200 meters wide exploded a few kilometers above ground and produced a fireball, as demonstrated in this simulation. Transposed over New York City, its destructive power becomes a lot more apparent.
This one is a little bit harder to say. The one that over Tunguska, the one that was slightly larger, had that happened over a city, let's say New York City, we would have 7 million casualties. At least, whatever the population in New York City is, they would be gone.
Really?
You should come with me to the end of the world. We could lie all day on the quiet sands.
While the 2 bombs dropped on Japan marked a dramatic end to the war, they
Cabin
also
crew
marked
seats
the
for
beginning
takeoff.
of an entirely new kind of fear. A fear of annihilation by incompetence. Humans are fallible, we make mistakes. And knowing this, coupled with a realization that one mistake could result in apocalyptic levels of destruction, the likes of which had so far been reserved by nature, this new kind of fear was undeniably justified. In early October of 1960, a new early warning system on Greenland had just become operational. In the event that the Soviet Union should launch an attack against the United States, a level 5 warning would be sent to the command center located in Colorado. On October the 5th, the number on the display suddenly changed from 0 to 1, indicating that a low-risk unidentified object had been detected. A bit strange, but no immediate cause for alarm. But then the number continued to climb until a level 5 warning was issued, meaning that long-range missiles would strike the United States in less than 20 minutes. The alert quickly worked its way up the chain of command and a slight panic ensued. But it was quickly eased by the realization that Nikita Khrushchev, leader of the Soviet Union at the time, was currently visiting the United States, not exactly where you'd expect him to be in the event of a nuclear attack. 20 minutes passed and the value of bottle caps remained the same. A subsequent investigation revealed that the base on Greenland had mistaken the rising moon for an incoming Soviet attack. In the early morning of January the 24th, 1961, an American B-52 bomber carrying 2 hydrogen bombs crashed into an empty field in the state of North Carolina. Officials quickly issued a report stating that there was no cause for alarm and that there was no danger of a nuclear explosion or radiation. However, declassified documents released in 2013 revealed that one of the 2 bombs actually came extremely close to a full-scale detonation. 3 out of 4 safety switches erroneously activated upon impact with the ground, and the slight separation of 2 wires was the only thing standing in the way of a nuclear explosion. Had this 3.8 megaton bomb detonated, and had the wind conditions been just right, the radioactive fallout could have reached as far as Washington, Philadelphia, and even New York. In the early 1960s, tensions between the US and the Soviet Union is strained to the breaking point and culminated in a situation known as the Cuban Missile Crisis. It is perhaps the closest we've ever come to committing omnicide. The short version is that the US installed nuclear missiles near the Soviet Union, specifically in Turkey, so in response the Soviet Union installed nuclear missiles near the United States, specifically in Cuba. The US would have none of that. Hey, you can't do that, only we are allowed to do that, said the United States. I don't know what you're talking about, the Soviet Union replied. I'm paraphrasing, of course, as these were classified communications. While the impasse in and of itself came extremely close to disaster, one specific event stands out. After the US imposed a blockade to prevent the Soviet Union from exporting even more missiles to Cuba, a Soviet submarine was detected near Cuban shores. In an attempt to force the submarine to surface so that they could have a friendly chat, multiple US naval destroyers dropped low-intensity explosives to signal the submarine to surface. However, the captain of the submarine misinterpreted this as an attack and ordered his men to retaliate against one of the US destroyers by launching a nuclear-armed torpedo. Fortunately, one of the two senior officers aboard disagreed with the captain's decision and eventually managed to convince him that they should instead surface and await orders from Moscow. And that's exactly what they did, and thus the apocalypse had to reschedule.
Mate, that
On May
is
the 23rd,
absolutely significant.
1967, all of the early
That's
warning systems across
unbelievable,
the
isn't it,
United
that?
States ceased
One
to function.
decision there.
In fact, all manner of
World
military
War III.
communications and radar technology malfunctioned
Talk about on a knife edge,
simultaneously,
that.
and it was interpreted as intentional jamming by the Soviets. Bomber planes immediately scrambled and prepared to launch an attack. But as luck would have it, just a few years prior, a branch of the US military had begun observing solar activity and its effect on the Earth. And on this day, 1967, the sun had ejected a powerful solar storm that struck the planet and knocked out military defenses and other equipment. Had a project for something as unrelated as studying the sun been delayed for just a few years, no one could have explained this nationwide interference in time to prevent World War III. In the mid-1980s, squadrons of US aircrafts would often fly straight towards Soviet airspace, thus triggering their early warning systems only to turn around at the very last moment, a form of psychological warfare that kept the Soviets on edge for an attack. In the early hours of September the 26th, 1983, the command center just outside Moscow was awoken by the sound of an alarm. An intercontinental ballistic missile had just been launched by the US and was now heading towards the Soviet Union. In the event of a nuclear attack by the Americans, it was standard procedure to launch an immediate counterattack. It was now up to the man in charge, Stanislav Petrov, to contact his superiors and to inform them that a nuclear attack was imminent. A few minutes passed when 4 additional missiles were detected. However, Petrov decided to go against his training and did nothing. He reasoned that if the United States were to strike, the attack would likely involve hundreds of missiles, not just a few. In other words, he suspected that this was a false alarm. But as he had no way of confirming his suspicions, he could only wait and hope for the best. Fortunately, Petrov was correct in his assumption, as evident by the fact that you are currently breathing, and a subsequent investigation revealed that sunlight reflecting off of high-altitude clouds was responsible for the anomaly. On March the 31st, 1989, 2 American astronomers discovered that a week prior, on March the 22nd, a 300-meter-wide asteroid had come fairly close to the Earth. It had not come close enough to pose any risk of impact and was even further away than the Moon, but it's still worth a mention as it passed through the exact position that the Earth had occupied a mere 6 hours prior, which is in and of itself extraordinarily close on the cosmic scale. An impact with an asteroid of this size would obliterate almost everything within a radius of 60 to 75 kilometers. superimposed over Tokyo, one of the largest cities on Earth. It looks like it would have been a rough day. Some of you may remember that a few years ago there was a lot of eschatological prophecies that the world would end in 2012. While the world is still spinning, as evident by the rotation of this globe, we did narrowly escape a catastrophic event in July of 2012. On the 23rd of July, the Sun expelled something known as a coronal mass ejection, or CME for short. A CME is a release of large quantities of magnetized plasma, and if it strikes the Earth, it can cause some serious damage to any and all electronic devices. This was also one of the most powerful CMEs in recorded history, and it blasted straight through the Earth's orbit. Luckily for us, the Earth was on the other side when that eruption occurred, but due to the rotation of the Sun, had this eruption occurred just 9 days prior, we would have been engulfed by that storm. And if that had happened, and there's a 12% chance that it will happen in the next 10 years, it could have taken us as much as a decade to fully recover. It's difficult to overstate the ramification of a CME on this scale. Worldwide power outages would take weeks, months, or even years to resolve. Many satellites would have to be replaced, electronic equipment of all kinds would cease to function seemingly overnight. Medical, transportational, financial, military, national security, and other critical systems would all be compromised or destroyed. Society would grind to a halt and be literally plunged into darkness for years to come. Given how dependent we've become on electricity and various technologies like the internet, it's difficult to imagine anything but global panic and chaos. It would not have been the end of the world, but it would no doubt have felt like it. Declassified documents reveal that the US military has had over 1,000 close calls with nuclear weapons since the 1950s. Over 1,000 times when cataclysmic devastation was just narrowly avoided. And who knows how many near accidents the Russian military have experienced, or any of the other nuclear weapon states. Coupled with the destructive power of natural events, it is truly a miracle that we've come as far as we have.
You should come with me to the end of the world. We could lie all day on the quiet sand.
Okay, just a quick update from the flight deck. We are going to be starting our descent imminently into Bissau, Guinea-Bissau. Here we go. Expect to be down on the ground in the next 15 minutes or so, or next quarter of an hour. We'll be down. Maybe it's less than 10 minutes because we're only at half altitude. So 10 minutes and we'll be down. Let's go. As for the route in, I'll get to about here and I'll come across like this to about there and then in south like that. So we'll get to this maroon line, I guess, and then we'll come out like this to about there and then we'll go in from there like that. That is el plan. Thank you. Jesus, the visibility wasn't great there, was it? I was relying solely on that VFR map then. I was relying solely until we were about half a mile out and spotted it. But yeah, visibility was hazy. The low cloud was, the low cloud was low clouding. Here comes a taxi to pick us up. Wow, we're down on the ground safely in the end, but yeah. The last 5 minutes of that flight, there wasn't a lot to see. The VFR map was absolutely crucial on that one. But yeah, get it down we did in the end. Little swerve at the last minute. It wasn't quite lined up, dead on with the runway. But no worry. Good job I got 530 hours practice. That came in useful. But yeah, just hovering above the ground at 500 feet looking for any sign of a runway there for a couple of minutes. Not ideal, not what I'd want to be experiencing every other flight. But nevertheless, we are down safely. Welcome to Guinea. Bissau. Welcome to Bissau, capital of Guinea-Bissau. Local time is 12:15 in the afternoon and the outside air temperature is 29 degrees. Please do drop a like on the stream. Please do hit the bell icon as well. Get yourself subscribed. The next flight will be to Conakry, Guinea. So we go from Guinea-Bissau to Guinea is the next flight. Again, I expect it to be a little hop across the border. I don't expect it to be any more than half an hour. It could be half the length of that. But yeah, thank you for joining me on this flight. Hope you enjoyed the Armageddon documentary. It is a good one, that. Lamino, one of the best channels on YouTube. And yeah, just how close we've come to annihilation. And came pretty close to annihilation there as well, hovering at 500 feet off the ground looking for the runway in somewhat hazy conditions, but in the end the VFR map got us in and spotted the runway, like I say, about half a mile out, and managed to just about line it up, and nice touchdown in the end. Managed to pull up nicely at the last second, and the touchdown wasn't too bad at all in the end. So, crucially, the plane is in one piece. We're in one piece. The world tour continues to Guinea. So join me for that one. I'll get this thing parked up. Where shall I go? Don't know point in going down the taxiway. I'll go down here and go right and park up in front of one of them buildings over there, I guess. Or I could go in this section here, actually. I might go in this section here. Yeah, I might go in that section there. So we'll go left and we'll go in front of that Terminal 1. Yeah, that's where we're going to park it up now. But yeah, pretty straightforward flight. Like I say, I could have had ILS in, but it was sending us way off course, doubling the length of the flight. So I thought make my own way in, which was a little bit dodgy, but crucial thing is we are down safely. There has been some obscure routes in this world tour. It won't be the last, and the good thing is it's flat round here, so there was no danger of hitting any mountains or anything. We're sort of in, I don't want to say swampland, but when you look at the map when I'm setting up the flight, it was, we're at sea level. Let's put it that way. We're at sea level. So there is no danger of any mountains on that final approach in the low cloud. That would have added some danger that I don't really want. So yeah, relatively easy really to navigate that, despite the poor visibility. So yeah, I was just going to park it up here. Why not? That's made for us, innit? I assume that's the airport terminal. So that will do us nicely. Flight 79 is complete. We're can now switch the seatbelt signs off that have been on the entire flight. Yeah, no drink service today. What are we saying for length of flight? It predicted 15 minutes, so I had another 5 minutes on, call it 20 minutes. I reckon slightly longer than that. I reckon 23, 24 minutes, something like that. 23 minutes, 40 seconds. 24 minutes, 22. That was because I made my own way in and I had to deviate course, and then I was a bit too low for a bit too long. But we're down safely. GBYD to GGOV has taken us 24 minutes and 22 seconds. Nice little short flight up to 19,000 feet, leveled out for 10 minutes, and then back down we came. A little documentary about how close we've been to the end of the world on multiple occasions. The submarine one to me seems the most significant of all of those. That submarine that was in near, was it say off the coast of Cuba or something like that? And yeah, Russian submarine off the coast of Cuba, and they sent a missile towards the submarine as a warning shot, and everyone on board the Russian submarine thought that it was a declaration of war, apart from the captain, who said, no, don't worry about it. And had he said, right, fuck this, press the red button, would we be here now? Anyway, big questions. But yeah, no, his decision saved the planet from World War III, and therefore what comes at the end of that, I do not know. Or the other side of that, I do not know. But anyway, that seems to me the most significant one of all of those, but there's a few close calls in there. It's an interesting... And all those at least three out of, let's say that he went through about 7 or 8 scenarios there. At least 3 of those was like technical malfunctions from the radar, and it's just like the moon rising instead of a fucking missile bombardment. It was just the sun, the sun rising in the east. You know what I mean? Like, fucking what? Like, they could have started a nuclear war just because the sunlight reflected in the clouds. I thought, what the fuck? At least 3 of them were just like anomalies that they should have been counted for, the moon. Fucking what? It's not a missile bombardment and the start of World War III. It is the moon. Anyway, never mind. We got away with it, and we got away with it with this flight as well. So we are down the ground in Guinea-Bissau. Join me for the next flight to Guinea. Yeah, there you go. Other than that, thank you for joining. Please do drop me a like on the stream, and I will be back for the next one when I've got the time and when I feel like doing it, because there's just short little flights as well, so I don't have to take 3 hours out of my day. We're an hour, 45 minutes, and job done. All right, see you for the next one. Bye for now.